Hello, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to show you how to not only create a Jamboard, but more so to take your Jamboards to the next level. So, throughout this lesson, we have been talking about creating authentic, engaging learning tasks for our students, but also trying to think about the three different types of interaction. If you recall earlier, we talked about student to student interaction, student to content interaction, and student to teacher interaction. And Jamboard is a way that you can create lessons that will allow for all three interaction types to happen. So if you hang with me for a minute, I'm going to show you how you can do this. So the first thing, of course, you want to do is start with a blank Jamboard. And one of the things that's great about Jamboard is you can create an activity for your students that they will then come and do either individually, which would, of course, be student to content interaction, or they could come and do it collectively. So maybe using your breakout rooms in your Google Meet. You could have several students working on Jamboard at the same time, which of course would allow for not only student to content, but student to student interaction. And if yourself as the teacher are monitoring and giving live feedback while students are working on their Jamboard, then you've also met that third type of interaction, student to teacher. So it is a really versatile tool, even though it's quite simple to use. So the first way I thought I could show you how to use it is if I was creating an activity for maybe a younger learner. So I imagined that maybe we might like to do a math lesson. And so I'm going to show you how to create a timeline activity that students could maybe do a simple math problem using a timeline. So the first thing I need to do, of course, is find a timeline that might work. So what I can do, maybe I should go back and show you that. So what I would like to do is put a timeline on here, which students can then write on top of if they would like. So to do this, I'm going to go to set background. And I'm going to choose an image. So I could use one of these preset backgrounds, but I really want to have a number line on the background. So I'm going to click image, and you can see if I had already downloaded one, or maybe I drew one on a piece of paper, I could take a picture of it or take a picture on my phone and then save it to my drive and upload it that way. But I don't have a picture of a number line. So I'm going to go to Google Images and I'm going to search number line. Let's see what comes up. Maybe I want a number line to 20. Let's try that. So we click on that and there you go. There's a lot of options here for me. Don't see one I'm loving. So you know what? I'm just going to go back and I'm going to change it back to number line. Sometimes a simpler Google search is better. There we go. So here we go. I've got 1 to 10. Let's give that a go. So I'm going to click on that. And yes, I want to set that frame as my background. And there we go. I've got this number line here now that I could use. If you felt like this number line was too big, maybe you didn't want it to take up the whole frame, your other option is to go to the image and add an image button. And you can do the same thing. So if I went to Google Images again and put in number line, okay, you could look the same way, find the same image, and it would insert it smaller. And then I could use it. I could move it around as I needed to or enlarge it. The reason why I chose to make this a background rather than an image is because students cannot click on the background. They can't do anything to it. They can't accidentally delete it or anything like that, which we know with our learners that sometimes happens. But when you use it as an image, they can grab it and potentially delete it or accidentally delete it. So that's why I chose to use it as the background. There is a workaround for this, which I can show you in a minute, but I just do find this to be the simplest. So here you go. I've made my number line. Now I need to give my students a direction as to what to do with this number line. So I can take a text box, okay, and I could insert it up here, maybe make that a bit larger. And now maybe I'm going to give them directions. So maybe I'm going to say, using the number line, answer the following. Okay, and then I could say, what is 2 plus 2? Okay. Now, you might want to use different language. I'm not a primary teacher, so I'm sure there's a better way to phrase that, but just let's imagine that's what we're going to do. Okay. So now I've just finished telling you that students can click on any text box or any shape that I put on here. They could potentially delete it. So if I want to protect the question, okay, what I can do is if I go to this shape section, okay, and I want to choose a square, all right? So now I've clicked on the square. I've got the square ready to go. I'm going to go up to the top of my page, pull it down, and my goal here is to cover the entire page with this square and try to leave no space left, okay? Now you're thinking, oh no, I've lost all my work, but it's okay. All you need to do now is go up to this paint bucket and you're going to select transparent. And there we go. Now what I've really done is I have created an overlay. So my students cannot click on the number line, but they also cannot click on the words that I'm writing, okay? So now students have an option, and I probably would have explained this to them early on when I was introducing the lesson, but they can now take their pen and choose a color. And now they can use the number line to help them solve this problem. So I'm asking them, what is 2 plus 2? So they would start at 2 and go to 3 and end up on 4. And now they can tell me that their answer is 4. So that's just one way that they could use Jamboard as now an interactive activity. And because I've shared it with them and I can, through my Google Classroom, make a copy of this Jamboard for every single student, I can then go and check in on their progress, or they could turn this Jamboard in as an assignment, turn it in, and I could check there. Okay. Now I can also, if I wanted to, let's pretend that I would like them to do 5 different questions of a number line. How could I do this most efficiently? If I go up to this top part here, I can see the frame that I've made, and maybe now I'd like to duplicate it. So I'm going to duplicate it, and it's doubled it over for me. And I can just continue to do that 5 times. But you might be saying, well, we're not asking them to solve 2 plus 2 every single time. You're right. So if I click on this second frame, okay, I can now see I'm on my second frame. I could just go ahead and grab my invisible transparent layer, move that out of the way, and change my numbers. So maybe I want them to figure out 4 plus 5 on this one, okay? And then I would put my transparency layer back on top, and I'm good to go. Students can now come along and draw on top of it. So this is this very simple way that you could create a student content activity for them. And you could also provide feedback. Maybe as their teacher, I come along afterwards and I can let them know, good job, they've solved it. And I can leave them a little sticky note on that one that they could come back later on and see. So that's my second type of interaction. I've now provided student teacher interaction. But I've mentioned here we have an option of creating activities that will allow students to not only engage with the content, but with one another as well. So I'd like to show you now how you can take your Jamboards to the next level. So if you remember, okay, I'm just going to clear the frame here so we're ready to try something new. And I'm just going to clear that one as well. And if I set my background to white, okay, so we're fresh, we're ready to start. If you remember our Google Slides discussion, we talked about using Slides Mania as a way to get really great templates. But what if I want to take those templates and turn them into Jamboard? Can I do that? The simple answer is yes, you can. So maybe I found something really great and I've made it into a Google Slides presentation. I could take it over to Jamboard, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But let's pretend I haven't, and I'm going to use Google Slides to make something for my students. And the reason why you come over to Google Slides rather than doing it just in Jamboard is because Google Slides has more tools that you can use that will help you. So I'm going to show you here. Let's just pretend that I would like to make a placemat activity for my students to explore, okay? So I can use the tools here. I'm making 4 corners. Maybe I would like to put some images in here for them, let's say, okay? So I'll show you how to do that. All you need to do, if you go over to this little button here, this Explore button, it will allow you to go and find some images. So let's say maybe I want to have a light bulb, okay? Maybe it's light bulb clip art, okay? So I can type that in. And all I need to do is click on this Images button. And look at that, it's pulled up images for me already. So maybe this is the one I really like. So I'm going to click the plus symbol. You could also click and drag it as well, but it's going to do that for me. And it's put it right in my document. And now I can move it to where I might like. Okay. I'm also going to get rid of the link because I don't really need that to be there. And maybe I want to create some instructions. So maybe I'm going to ask them to record your thoughts here, okay? And maybe I want all 4 of them to do that. So I can copy it and then I can paste it. Oops, sorry. Let's click off, click on again. I can also do the duplicate function as well here if I want to, but I'll copy it. Oh, doesn't seem to want to work for me today. Sometimes you have to click away and click on again. There we go. There we go. So I've made a couple, I've selected it and I've clicked Control C for copy and then Control V for paste. So let's say I move them all over there, okay? So I could spend some time, I could make this look really fancy, but maybe I'm happy now. This is how I want the Jamboard to look. So here is the great secret. Now what you're going to do is go over to File, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this slide into a background image. So I go down to Download and over to JPEG image. And yes, it's the current slide, this slide I'm working on that I'd like to change. So I'm going to select that. And now what it's done is it has downloaded this image for me. Okay, it's turned it into a picture. So if I go back now to my Jamboard, remember when we set our background? Watch this. I'm going to go to Set Background, go back to Image. Okay, this time I'm not going to do a Google image search. I'm going to go to Upload. And from here, I can look in my downloads for that JPEG that I just made. So there it is. Click on that. And yes, that is the one I want to use. And there it is. And so now my students cannot click on any of these images, but they can use their sticky notes to record their thoughts. So imagine now if my students were having a group discussion in a breakout room and they were working on this document together at the same time. And I, as their teacher, could come along and I could also be working or adding comments to this document. So right now you have created something where you are hitting all 3 levels of interaction. So I'd like to show you an exemplar of how I used this. This is an activity that I created for my grade 11 anthropology students. And what I did is I first made a Google slide presentation. And then for each one of my slides, I did as I just showed you, I downloaded them as a JPEG and set them as the background. So that's why it looks like a Google slide, but it is actually in a Jamboard, and you're going to see why I chose to do it in a Jamboard in a minute. So what I've done is I've given a little introduction, and then on the next frame, I've given them some information, and I've asked them to do it in breakout groups. So the entire class will be working on this document at the same time. which means that imagine if we were in a classroom. You know how you can see students move? Sometimes they like to go and check out what other groups are doing. This will allow them to do that virtually. So I've put them into their breakout groups, okay? And we've all looked at this during our Google Meet, and now in their breakout groups, they've come to this document. And so what they're going to do is if they click through, they will find, and I'll come back to that in a minute, they'll find the slides that have their breakout group number on it. And so they're going to read through this content. So this is student to content interaction right here. But then what students will do is they will go and find this organizer. And now they can't click on any of the things in the background because I made this in Google Slides, but they can take a sticky note and they can record their thoughts in their particular section. So if I have 4 students per group, each student would have their own section. And because they're in a breakout room, they are also talking while filling out this placemat, and they are able to make some concluding thoughts or concluding statements here. So they can use this document to record their thinking, much as they would if they were in person together. And they are able to go through the Jamboard and see what other groups are putting in, because each group will have their own area where they can record their thoughts. Okay. Now you might be looking at this template and thinking, wow, this is pretty fancy. I agree, it is fancy, but I can't take credit for it. I found a template that looked very similar to this, and I just recreated it in Google Slides. I changed the coloring and the background and the stylizing, but this is not my idea. This comes from a really great resource, which I would like to tell you and show you now. So just like when we talked about Google Slides and we learned about Slides Mania, this is another really super resource that's free. And what they do here is not only Google Slide templates, but Jamboard templates, or templates that we can use in Jamboard. And that's why I wanted to show it to you today. So this comes from a teacher. Her name is Esther Park. She's based out of the States, but she's put this site together. And you would just go to mrspark.org. Okay. And what you're looking for is her resource page. And again, it is free. Yay, free. So what you need to do is you click on resources, and it will take you in a minute. Sorry, everyone, my internet's a little slow today, but it's going to take you to her free resources. And if you scroll down, you can see all the templates that she's made. So what's really great is, I find, is that she is also an ESL teacher. So she's teaching students at the high school level, but she's teaching them for those that are still learning the language. And so some of her activities are pretty simple, but could be used if you're teaching maybe a higher level learner. You could use some of these templates as maybe an icebreaker activity, or a getting to know you activity. So there are a lot of really wonderful templates here for you. Okay, so she's got fun things like this or that where students can comment. There's also wonderful things like Venn diagrams, which I think we should check out in a minute. I wanted to show you here's her template for what I based my placemat activity off. So you can see it looks very similar. I just changed the stylizing a little bit. So let's go down here. Let's check this one out because we always love a good Venn diagram. So let's pretend that you find a template that you really liked. Just like Slides Mania, you would click on it. And what is really great is right away, it has opened it up for me in a Google Slides presentation free. Okay. And now I'm able to do what it is I wanted to do. Now it's funny because it's loading something different than when I selected, but that's okay. Oh, maybe our Venn diagram's hiding here. So she has created all sorts of templates that you can use here. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hey, wait a minute, why did this load as a Google Slides presentation? Isn't this supposed to be Jamboard? But why we actually want it to be in slides first, why we like that, is because it gives us an option now to change things that maybe we want something to be a little bit different. So maybe I want to come over to this text box and change the questions that are being asked. Or maybe I want to remove, maybe I want to only have them fill in 3 different things instead of 4. I could be clicking on these items and removing them. Okay. So it allows you to change it and to suit your needs before you put it as the backdrop in the Google Slides, or sorry, the Google Jamboard. And remember to do that once you've made it the way you like it, you would just again go to File and download that image. Okay. Now, in this one, you'll notice she's got it locked. So I don't have all the tools that I would normally have, but that's okay. All you need to do, very simple, is just make a copy first. And yes, I want to copy the entire presentation. And so now it's going to copy it for me, and you'll see in a minute it will load a version that I can now change to suit my needs. Okay. Now, one thing we did talk about a little bit in this lesson on Google Slides was editing the master. And why I'm mentioning it to you now is just in case you find something here that for some reason you're not able to click and change the text in that text box. It might be that you need to go to the master and change it that way. Okay. So for example, on the Venn diagram slide, which we'll load in a minute, I need to change this language here. Maybe I don't want it to say different. Maybe I want it to say something else. And you'll notice I can't click on it. If I go up to View and then to Master, now it will open it up into the master. And you'll notice as soon as it loads, you'll notice that I'm able to change that language for that word. So there it is. There's the master. And now I can click on different and I can change that to whatever it is I need. Okay. And it's just one more way really of protecting your slides. So if you were just to do this activity with your students just in Google Slides, maybe you don't even turn it into Jamboard, maybe you just want to use it in slides, those areas are still protected. But if I wanted to use this in Jamboard, remember, all I would need to do is download as a JPEG and then go to my Jamboard, okay, and set my background. So I'm going to change it from this number line. Now it's going to be that really nice Venn diagram that I just found. So once my files load, I'll be able to choose that as my background, and then students will be able to write on it without accidentally deleting the Venn diagram and the text boxes, which is great. So there you go. Look at that. How nice does that look? Okay, and they could use the stickies, but they could also put a text box in and type their name there if they wanted to. So those are the options available to them. They could also use the pen tool to write on there. Really, the sky is the limit. So there you go. Hopefully now you are feeling excited. You have some ideas brewing about how to take your Jamboard to the next level. And remember, you do not have to make these things from scratch because there are great sites out there for you, like mrspark.org, who has things ready to go for you, and all you need to do is tweak it a bit and you will be off to the races. So I'm going to end this video now because I'm sure you are just so excited to go and check out this great resource. I have linked her site below this video, so have fun and good luck.